The Washington Post has some new facts for us on drug crimes in America, and it's really some stunning stuff. So they're quoting a report here from Human Rights Watch and the ACLU, and they say the following. On any given day in the United States, at least 137,000 people sit behind bars on simple drug possession charges. Since the war on drugs, rates of drug use are not down. Drug dependency has not stopped. Every 25 seconds, we're arresting someone for drug use. All right, think about that. 25 seconds. Every 25 seconds, somebody's arrested for drug use. Around the country, police make more arrests for drug possession than for any other crime, amounting to more than 1.25 million arrests each year. In fact, police make more arrests for marijuana possession alone than for all violent crimes combined. Let me repeat that. That's the most ridiculous fact I've ever heard. Police make more arrests for marijuana possession alone than for all violent crimes combined. This is lunacy. I mean, think about the fact that we have limited resources. There's only a certain number of law enforcement people in the country. There's only a certain number of people in the judicial branch in the country. They're saying there are more arrests just for marijuana possession than all violent crimes combined. Murder, manslaughter, assault, rape. I mean, massive amounts of money that are just wasted. You don't need to spend on that. You don't need to spend on that, and you can get more serious about focusing on actual crime that really matters and really is crime. So what are we doing? This is nuts. And then when you read this, you really begin to understand, how those numbers about the criminal justice system are in perspective. So I've often cited the fact that the U.S. has more people in prison than Stalin did in his gulags at their height. I mean, that's an amazing fact, but when you read stuff like this, you go, oh, I see. Well, now I see how that can happen. The drug war is just locking everybody and their mother up. And you have to think about, this is really a radical thing, because when you talk about substance use, are there some people who get addicted and, they're in trouble? Sure. What should we do with those people? Well, treatment is probably the best option. But the overwhelming majority of people who use drugs, according to Dr. Carl Hart, who's an expert on this stuff, he says about 80% of drug users are moderate users who don't get addicted or just normal people living normal lives. Think about that. If you're one of those people and you get caught, you go to jail. Then you go to prison. So this is effectively the same thing as locking somebody up for drinking a Red Bull or a Monster Energy. Locking people up for alcohol. There was a time when we had alcohol prohibition in the U.S. That's what we're doing now. We're just doing it with a different substance. We're doing it with marijuana. And by the way, a more benign substance, according to the studies. There are more downsides associated with alcohol than there are with marijuana. And marijuana, medicinally, has many upsides. So, and that's not even my drug. I'm not even a fan. It's not the drug for me. I don't like it. But that doesn't mean I can't look at the data and be objective about it and go, oh, well, this actually, helps people in a variety of different ways. It seems to have a more mellow effect on people than, say, alcohol, where if you're seeing somebody fighting outside at 3 o'clock in the morning, much more likely to be drunk than high. If they're high, the old joke goes, they probably are just eating some cookie dough, watching reruns of the Brady Bunch or some shit. So, think about what we're doing. You're doing the same thing as locking somebody up for, having caffeine. You're doing the same thing as locking somebody up for if they had gone to the doctor and got a prescription for Xanax. By the way, those drugs work on the same, receptors in the brain as alcohol does. So one of them, you go to the doctor and they're helping you. They're prescribing you to get rid of your anxiety. But if somebody, has a few beers to take the edge off at the end of the day, that's fine too. Well, if you smoke some weed, lock them in a cage, throw away the key, everybody be quiet. These laws are not based on reason. They're not based on people sitting down and discussing stuff and trying to figure out the best way to run society. And I mean, it is a gross restriction on freedom and liberty. I mean, could you imagine losing your life, losing your freedom because you tweaked your consciousness in a way that the state didn't approve of? I mean, that's as police state tyrannical you could ever get. And that's what we have. And then now you learn, oh, more people are arrested for that than all violent crimes combined. No, focus on the people doing violent crimes because this isn't even really a crime. It's unbelievable and it's heartbreaking when you read this stuff. And yet we've had presidents. President Obama was part of the Choom Gang. Smoked weed. There's pictures of him smoking weed. Bill Clinton admits, yeah, I smoked, but I didn't inhale. Yeah, right, bitch. You inhaled. I mean, all the George Bush, he smoked weed, and many think he was a cokehead when he was younger. So we have presidents who did all this stuff, and then, look, to be fair to Obama, he's been slowly but surely releasing nonviolent drug offenders from jail, and I give him credit for that. But we got to go fucking full speed ahead, man. 58% of the American people are with you. The only people who are against you are the pharmaceutical companies and the alcohol companies. And the people who are lobbying against this because they view marijuana as their competition and they view other drugs as their competition. Fuck them. They're fighting a wave of history that they can't beat back. So we gotta go full speed ahead. We gotta stop with this hypocrisy. We've ruined lives over nothing. It should be urgent. All hands on deck. Let's fucking fix this and get these people out of jail and stop further ruining lives over this. And then meanwhile, not to pivot here, but you got people on Wall Street who tanked the economy, got rich in the short term at the expense of the long-term viability of the economy. They did fraud, and what are they doing? They're still out there making a lot of money, wearing their suits and ties, acting like perfectly good members of society. So they're free when they do fraud, and they effectively steal millions of people's houses from them with predatory loans. They're free. But if you smoke a little weed, lock you up, and we're going to spend more time and put more energy locking those people up than people who do like actual violent crimes, like assault, like murder, and stuff like that.